In the rugged expanse of the American West, where the sun stretched golden across the plains and shadows of the mountains loomed in the distance, there lived a woman named Eliza. Known for her fierce spirit and unbreakable will, she had spent her life tending to her family's homestead, nestled on the outskirts of a bustling mining town called Silver Creek. The townsfolk had their whispers about Eliza. Some admired her for her independence, while others scoffed, believing a woman should be content to stay at home. But Eliza longed for more. She had heard tales of a forgotten mine, deep within the canyons, said to be filled with silver so pure it gleamed like the morning sun. She dreamed of uncovering treasures that would not only bring her fortune, but also prove her worth in a man's world. It was an early morning when Eliza decided to embark on her journey. The townsfolk were busy with their daily routines as she saddled her horse, Thunder, who snorted restlessly. As she prepared to ride, a familiar figure approached. It was Roy, the town's voice of caution and often the heart of community gossip. Known for his rough exterior and protective nature, Roy had watched Eliza grow up. "Eliza," he called, his tone laced with unease. "You can't go out there. That trail is dangerous. They say no one who took it ever returned." She looked him square in the eye, unflinching. "If I listened to every warning, I'd never make my own path, Roy. I have to try." Roy took a step closer, his face shadowed with worry. "This isn't just about you. It's not a game. The canyon is unforgiving." Eliza knew the risk, but dreams of adventure were woven into her very being. With a determined nod, she mounted Thunder, feeling the rush of wind in her hair. "I won't be long. Just enough time to find what I'm looking for." Roy sighed, shaking his head. "You can't survive the ride alone. The outlaws roam that area, and they won't hesitate to take what ain't theirs." Her heart pounded with a mix of excitement and trepidation. "Then I'll ride faster." With that, she kicked Thunder into action, galloping away from the murmurs of doubt, leaving Roy to watch her disappear into the distance. The ride was exhilarating at first. Freedom tasted sweeter than any silver she could find. Dust kicked up behind her as the landscape zipped by. Eliza felt alive, each beat of Thunder's hooves matching the rhythm of her racing heart. She savored the salt of sweat against her skin and the smell of sagebrush. However, the thrill quickly faded as she approached the mouth of the canyon. The towering cliffs darkened the sky, casting ominous shadows that sent a chill down her spine. The trail narrowed, winding deeper into the rocky embrace of the canyon. Jagged stones jutted out like the teeth of a beast waiting to swallow her whole. As she ventured further, Eliza's senses sharpened. The echoes of her horse's hooves bounced off the canyon walls, mingling with the distant call of a hawk. Suddenly, the landscape shifted. A low growl reverberated through the air, growing louder. From behind a cluster of boulders, a figure appeared. It was a man, rugged and wild, with a beard as tangled as his intentions. His clothes were patched and dusty, and his eyes glinted with a mixture of malice and hunger. "Well, well," he drawled, stepping into the sunlight. "What do we have here? A little lady all on her own?" Eliza's heart raced. She had heard stories of outlaws who roamed these canyons, preying on the unsuspecting. She gripped the reins of Thunder tightly, her mind racing for options. "Just passing through," she replied, determination lacing her voice. "I'm not looking for trouble." The outlaw's laugh echoed off the canyon walls. "Ain't that cute? Trouble finds folks like you around here. You should have listened to 'em." Eliza narrowed her eyes, refusing to back down. "I'm looking for the forgotten mine. I've come too far to turn back now." The outlaw's expression shifted, curiosity flickering in his eyes. "You really think you can handle the mine? You might find more than silver down there, sweetheart." Eliza felt the tension crackle in the air. "I'm not afraid of what's in that mine, but I'm not interested in your games." "Games?" He stepped closer, his breath foul with the scent of smoke and whiskey. "You'll find the mine all right, but you might not find your way out." Just then, Thunder snorted nervously, sensing the threat lurking in the outlaw's presence. Eliza knew she had to act. "If you want my valuables, you'll have to catch me first." With a swift motion, she spurred Thunder into a gallop, racing past him and deeper into the canyon. Behind her, she heard the outlaw curse and shout, his pursuit eager and ferocious. The cliffside loomed on either side, and the path grew treacherous. She navigated the tight corners carefully, adrenaline surging through her veins. As she turned a sharp bend, The sound of hooves pounding behind her grew louder. The outlaw was gaining on her, his gruff laughter ringing in her ears. "You can't outpace me, little lady. This canyon is my home." But Eliza wasn't ready to give up. She urged Thunder faster, adrenaline giving her strength. With a daring leap, she veered off the main path onto a narrow side trail, hoping it would lead her to safety. The canyon narrowed further, and the walls closed in around her. Rocks crumbled under Thunder's hooves, and she felt the horse's body quiver with the effort. Eliza's heart raced with fear and excitement. Suddenly her path opened up, revealing a hidden clearing that took her breath away. The sun broke through the clouds, illuminating an ancient entrance, dark and foreboding, but promising adventure and treasure. Taking a deep breath, Eliza knew she had reached her destination. The outlaw's voice echoed in the distance, and she had to act fast. With no time to lose, she tethered Thunder and slipped into the shadows of the mine's mouth, driven by determination and the whispers of forgotten dreams. As she moved deeper into the mine, the darkness enveloped her. The air grew stale and heavy, but she pressed on. Twists and turns led her deeper, with each step fueling her hope for discovery. What would she find in the heart of the earth? An adventure awaited, but danger lurked just behind her. In the desolate quiet of the mine, Eliza was on the cusp of something extraordinary, a journey that would not only test her strength, but would change her life forever. With the echo of bravado and fear in her heart, she ventured forward, ready to face whatever waited in the darkness. Deeper into the mine, the darkness closed around Eliza like a thick fog. The dim light from her lantern cast flickering shadows on the damp, uneven walls, revealing glimmers of silver embedded in the rock. Each step felt heavier, weighed down by the anticipation of discovery and the nagging fear that the outlaw wasn't far behind. The sound of dripping water echoed, a haunting melody intertwined with the whisper of the wind that found its way through the narrow passages. Eliza moved cautiously, her heart thudding in rhythm with the ghostly echoes. She had heard stories of miners who had ventured too deep and never returned, tales that painted the mine as a treacherous labyrinth filled with traps and hidden dangers. But thoughts of danger faded as she stumbled upon an expansive chamber, the likes of which she had only dreamed. Stalactites hung like jagged teeth from the ceiling, and the walls sparkled with veins of silver. It was beautiful and terrifying all at once, a realm untouched, where dreams of wealth danced just out of reach. Eliza approached one of the gleaming veins, her fingers trembling with excitement. The stories had not done it justice. This was a treasure trove that could change her life forever. As she touched the silver, her thoughts raced. Would she be able to gather enough to support her family and prove that she belonged in a world dominated by men? Suddenly, the echo of footsteps shattered her reverie. Her heart raced as she turned, the adrenaline surging through her veins. Silhouetted against the glow of her lantern was the outlaw, his face twisted into a grin that sent shivers down her spine. Well, you really did find the place," he sneered, stepping further into the chamber. "But you see, you won't be leaving with that silver." Eliza took a step back, her fingers instinctively reaching for the small knife she kept hidden in her boot. "You won't stop me," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "I've come too far." The outlaw laughed, a dark, mocking sound that echoed in the expansive room. "You think you can stand up to me after stumbling into my domain? You're just a little lady playing miner." Resentment bubbled within her. "I may be a lady, but I've faced more challenges than you know. I'm no one's victim." In a flash, the outlaw lunged, but Eliza was quicker. She dodged to the side, her heart racing, and with a swift motion, she brandished her knife. The blade glimmered in the lantern light, its promise of protection giving her confidence. "You think just because you're bigger, it makes you stronger. I won't go down without a fight," she declared, her voice unwavering. The outlaw sneered, trying to mask his surprise at her bravado. "You'll regret that, girl." He lunged again, but this time Eliza was ready. Ducking under his grasp, she evaded him, maneuvering around the chamber. The mine walls amplified their movements, making it seem as though shadows danced around them. Eliza's mind raced. She needed an escape, but the narrow passages of the mine were her only options. She darted past him, searching for a way out, her breath coming in quick gasps. The outlaw followed, relentless, his laughter ringing hollow and menacing. Just when she thought he was gaining on her, she found a fissure in the rock, a narrow hole leading into another passage. It would be tight, but it might be her only chance. Without hesitation, she squeezed through, feeling the jagged edges scrape against her arms. On the other side, she stumbled into a dimly lit corridor, her heart hammering against her ribs. Behind her, the outlaw cursed, his voice echoing through the stone as he tried to follow. Eliza didn't look back. She sprinted down the passage, fueled by adrenaline and the desperate hope of survival. The path twisted and turned, and she felt the coolness of the rock against her skin, a reminder of the danger she faced. Every sound echoed ominously, a constant reminder that she wasn't alone in the darkness. Suddenly, the tunnel opened into another chamber, and Eliza's breath caught in her throat. Here the walls were lined with raw stone, glimmering silver peeking through the cracks. This had to be the heart of the mine, but there was no time to marvel. The outlaw was hot on her trail. She glanced around, searching for something, anything that could aid her. To her right, she spotted a rusted pickaxe abandoned in a corner. Grabbing it, she felt its weight in her hand, a slender weapon against her pursuer. As she braced herself, the outlaw burst into the chamber, his expression twisted with rage. "You think you can hide from me? I'm going to enjoy this." Eliza's heart thundered. "You'll have to catch me first," she taunted, her desperation shifting into defiance. She raced around the chamber, using the obstacles to her advantage, dodging his grasp. With a burst of adrenaline, she swung the pickaxe, narrowly missing him. The outlaw staggered back, surprise flashing in his eyes. "You've got spirit. I'll give you that." "And you've underestimated me," she shot back, pressing forward with newfound determination. The terror of being trapped inside the mine faded, transforming into a fierce will to survive. Their struggle continued, each moment giving Eliza the strength she needed. She was no longer just a woman seeking treasure. She was a warrior fighting for her life. The echoes of their battle reverberated throughout the chamber, a fierce symphony of survival. With another swing of her weapon, Eliza struck him on the shoulder, causing him to stumble. In that moment of vulnerability, she seized the opportunity. "This isn't over," he shouted, scrambling back. But Eliza wasn't about to give him the chance to regroup. She dashed toward the other exit of the chamber, steeling herself for the final stretch. Outside, she could hear the sound of the wind rustling through the canyon, a siren call beckoning her back to the surface. Emerging from the mine's mouth, daylight bathed her in warmth, a stark contrast to the darkness behind her. But she couldn't stop now. With the outlaw in pursuit, she mounted Thunder, urgency gripping her as she kicked him into motion. As they galloped away from the mine, she could hear his angry cries fading behind her. But Eliza wasn't done yet. She'd found her courage deep within those shadows, and now she vowed to return to Silver Creek, not just as a woman but as a survivor, a beacon of strength in a land that knew only grit and determination. The adventure was far from over. It had only just begun. With the mine behind her and possibility ahead, Eliza's heart swelled with hope and daring. She would find wealth, yes, but more importantly, she would claim her place in a world that had long denied her. And she wouldn't stop until every whisper of doubt was silenced forever. As Eliza rode away from the mine, the adrenaline coursing through her veins began to fade, replaced by a rising tide of determination. She could still hear the echoes of the outlaw's curses behind her, but the wind whipped through her hair like freedom itself. Thunder galloped fiercely, its muscles rippling beneath her as they raced along the rocky trail back toward Silver Creek. With each beat of Thunder's hooves, Eliza felt more alive than ever. The fear of the outlaw faded into the background, transformed into a burning ambition to share what she had discovered. She had stumbled across a treasure trove, a forgotten mine that could change everything for her and the people of her town. They deserved to know. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the terrain as the town came into view, its buildings standing proud against the sweeping plains. The sounds of daily life filled the air, children laughing, vendors hawking goods, and the distant clanging of tools from the nearby blacksmith. Eliza's heart raced at the thought of facing the townsfolk, who had been skeptical of her capabilities. She reined Thunder to a swift halt at the edge of town, her mind racing with plans. There wasn't time to waste. She dismounted and headed into the center of Silver Creek, her resolve solidifying with every step. The chatter of townsfolk faded to a hush as they noticed her approach, their faces shifting from curiosity to confusion. "Eliza, where have you been?" called out Martha. a loyal friend who had always encouraged Eliza's adventurous spirit. "We were worried. I found it," Eliza exclaimed, unable to contain her excitement. "The forgotten mine. There's silver. More than we could ever need." Skepticism flickered in the crowd. "You must be imagining things," a burly man scoffed, his arms crossed defiantly. "Those old tales are nothing but legends." "No," Eliza insisted, her voice ringing out with fervor. "I swear it. There's real treasure down there. It's untouched, just waiting for us." Martha stepped closer, her brow furrowed in thought. "But what about the dangers? You can't just go in without help. You barely escaped an outlaw." The men murmured among themselves, the doubt still clinging to them like a stubborn shadow. "We aren't setting foot in that mine," another man declared, shaking his head. "It's too risky." Determined, Eliza took a deep breath, glancing at her friends and neighbors. "Then I'll go myself. But I want you all to come with me. We can work together. We can reopen it, bring jobs and a new life to Silver Creek." Silence enveloped the crowd, and she watched as their expressions gradually shifted from disbelief to contemplation. The idea of prosperity, of hope, was a powerful motivator. Even those who doubted her couldn't deny the allure of newfound wealth. "Let's at least investigate," Martha spoke up, her voice steady. "If what Eliza says is true, well, we have the chance to change everything." "Change doesn't come easy," a man from the back called out, his voice heavy with cynicism. "You'll need tools, supplies, and men willing to risk their lives." "We have to start somewhere," Eliza replied, her eyes burning with resolve. "I can gather what we need. We can take a group and secure the mine. It could bring business back to Silver Creek." Slowly, the murmurs of agreement began to rise. The town was alive with possibility as more people rallied to her side. Even those initially resistant to her passion found their doubts ebbing, replaced by a sense of community that had long felt distant. Over the course of the next few days, Eliza coordinated an expedition, a logistical feat that had her bustling around the town. Word spread like wildfire, and soon volunteers stepped forward, eager to join her venture. Men and women, old friends and hesitant neighbors, all gathered to support her in the journey ahead. The morning of their departure dawned clear and bright, and the air was electric with excitement. Everyone met at the edge of Silver Creek, supplies packed and horses saddled. Eliza stood before them, her heart swelling with pride. "We're about to do something incredible," she declared, her voice carrying strength. "We're not just going to find silver. We're going to bring prosperity back to our town. This is our chance." Cheers erupted from the crowd, every voice bursting with support and enthusiasm. As they set off toward the canyon, Eliza could hardly believe it. This was the moment she had always dreamed of, the moment she would step beyond the shadows of doubt and into her destiny. The path to the mine felt different this time. The energy of the group around her made every turn and dip in the road seem like an adventure rather than a danger. Laughter and chatter filled the air as they rode, the camaraderie strong and palpable. As they approached the mine entrance, Eliza felt a moment of hesitation grip her heart, but she shook it off. Now was the time to prove that she belonged in this world. She led the group into the mine, her lantern glowing warmly against the thick blackness. Once inside, gasps echoed around her. The chamber shimmered with veins of silver, alive with potential. The townsfolk murmured excitedly, eyes wide with disbelief. "I told you," Eliza exclaimed, grinning ear to ear. "Now, let's get to work." The atmosphere shifted from skepticism to eagerness as everyone began to set up their gear. Some started to survey the walls, excitedly pointing out places where the silver glimmered, as others organized the tools they'd brought along. But as they toiled, a shadow loomed over Eliza's excitement. She felt the presence of the outlaw weighing heavily in her mind. What if he returned? Would he come with a gang, determined to reclaim the mine for himself? Determined not to let fear paralyze her, Eliza rallied everyone. "Stay alert. Let's work together and remember what we're building here. We can't let anything stand in our way." Time passed in a blur as they began digging, carving paths through the stone. Each strike of the pickaxe rang with hope, a melody of ambition echoing through the established chambers of the mine. Despite the danger that lurked outside, they forged on, buoyed by teamwork and shared dreams. As Eliza swung the pickaxe, sweat dripping down her brow, she felt a sense of belonging she had never known before. For the first time, she was part of something larger than herself, part of a community, bound by ambition and courage. But just as the first flecks of silver began to gather in piles, a thunderous noise echoed through the mine, shaking the very ground beneath their feet. Eliza's heart dropped as a blinding light burst through the entrance, cutting through the familiar darkness, revealing silhouettes etched against the brightness. "Everyone, get back!" she shouted, fear gripping her gut. As the light grew closer, she recognized the figures. The outlaw had returned, and he was not alone. Panic swelled among her friends. This was not just danger, this was a fight for their newfound future. Eliza stepped forward, determined to protect what they had begun. "Stand together," she called, defiance ringing in her tone as everyone rallied around her. This was their land, their mine, and they would fight to hold on to it. As the shadows advanced, a sense of fight ignited within Eliza. She would not let fear take this dream away. It was time to show what true strength was made of. Eliza's heart raced as she tightened her grip on the pickaxe, the cool metal cold against her palm. The shadows advanced slowly, revealing the figures of the outlaw and his gang, rough men with wild eyes and menacing grins. They had come for what was theirs, or what they believed was theirs. "Looks like someone's trying to steal our treasure," the outlaw sneered, stepping forward. His voice was low and dripping with contempt. "What a fancy little party you've got here." Eliza squared her shoulders, positioning herself in front of her fellow miners with resolute defiance. "This is our mine now. You have no place here," she declared, her voice steady, despite the tremors of fear coursing through her. The outlaw laughed, a hollow sound echoing off the mine walls. "You're mine," he scoffed. "How cute. It was a fool's treasure when you found it, and it'll soon be ours again." Eliza glanced back at her friends, their faces a mix of determination and fear. She couldn't let them down. They had come together under such hope, risking everything for the promise of prosperity. "We won't let you take it," she stated, her voice gaining strength infused with passion. The outlaw's gang fanned out behind him, their expressions unfazed, as if this showdown was just another day in their reckless lives. "Well then, I suggest you get ready to fight for it," he hissed, pulling a revolver from his belt and aiming it toward the group. Eliza took a deep breath, knowing that the element of surprise was on their side. "Get behind me," she shouted. Her friends moved instinctively, gathering close. The tension in the air thickened, the lights cast shadows that seemed to grow taller, ominous and dark. Eliza felt the weight of expectation crash on her shoulders as she held the pickaxe firmly, her heart pounding like thunder. The outlaw smirked and stepped forward again. "If you think you can scare me off with a shovel, you're terribly mistaken. This is what I do. I take what I want, and right now, I want this mine." Without warning, one of his henchmen lunged forward, clearly intent on rushing her. Time slowed as Eliza's instincts kicked in. With a swift movement, she swung her pickaxe, catching him off guard. The blade grazed his arm, causing him to howl in pain as he stumbled back. "Get away from us," shouted one of her friends, brandishing a makeshift weapon. Chaos erupted as the standoff turned into a frenzy of movement and shouts. Eliza saw an opening and dashed to the side, her legs pumping beneath her. The outlaw, furious now, raised his gun. "You'll all regret this. Not if we fight together," Eliza shouted back, her voice cutting through the confusion. The miners began to rally behind her, fueled by the adrenaline of the moment. They grabbed whatever tools they could find, shovels, pickaxes, even wooden beams, and stood firm against the oncoming threat. Eliza's heart surged as she glanced at her friends. She could see determination burning in their eyes, a shared understanding that they were fighting for more than just silver. They were fighting for their home, their lives. The outlaw charged, but Eliza was ready. She ducked low, dodging a wild swing from another of his men and using her pickaxe to strike at his feet. He stumbled, and before he could recover, Eliza spun away, her eyes scanning for anyone she could aid. "Together, we can push them back," she yelled. Clutching the pickaxe tightly, she felt the wild spark of courage. "Don't let them take what we've worked for." The miners surged forward, a wave of unity crashing against the attackers. Each strike rang out like a bell of defiance, echoing into the cavernous depths of the mine. Eliza felt the energy surrounding her, as each of her friends fought fiercely, refusing to back down. For every member of the outlaw gang that charged at them, more miners pushed forward, unwavering in their resolve. They could hear the sounds of pain and frustration from their opponents, The screams of the outlaws mingled with the determination of the miners. Suddenly, the outlaws' gang began to falter. The brash arrogance that had fueled their confidence wavered as they found themselves surrounded. Eliza caught sight of one, fear washing over his face as he took a step back. "Get out! We're not afraid of you!" Eliza shouted, her voice ringing with newfound power. She swung her pickaxe not out of malice but to assert their strength. "You chose the wrong fight." The outlaw's bravado cracked, and he glanced back at his men, panic flickering in his eyes. "This isn't over, you hear me?" he spat, backing away toward the exit. The others followed suit, retreating as the miners pushed closer, bolstered by a sense of triumph. As the last of the gang fled into the light of day, disbelief mingled with exhilaration washed over the miners. Eliza stood panting, her chest heaving, but a smile danced on her lips. They had defended their claim against the odds. "You did it!" Martha exclaimed, rushing forward and embracing Eliza tightly. Around them, the men and women erupted into cheers, laughter blending into the celebration that filled the mine. Eliza felt an overwhelming sense of camaraderie. They had come together, not just to claim a treasure, but to forge a community rooted in resilience. She looked around at her friends, the town she had longed to uplift, knowing that this was only the beginning. "Let's gather our tools and get back to work," Eliza called out, her voice clear and commanding. "We've got a mine to restore." As her friends rallied around her, she felt a surge of purpose. This was about more than just silver. This was about building something lasting. It was about proving to themselves and each other that they could stand strong, even when faced with adversity. With renewed hope, they set about their tasks, hearts filled with determination and laughter. Despite the threat that loomed overhead, Eliza knew they could face anything together. And as they worked, an even greater dream began to take shape. Not just a prosperous mine, but a flourishing community, rising from the dust of the old frontier, stronger than before. The air was thick with possibility as they carved their destiny, and Eliza felt an unshakable certainty. They were on the cusp of something extraordinary, and this was only the beginning of their adventure. As the miners labored in the depths of the forgotten mine, Eliza reveled in the camaraderie that had blossomed among them. Laughter bounced off the walls as they engaged in hard work, digging deeper into the earth, unearthing flecks of silver that sparkled like stars in the dim light of their lanterns. Each swing of the pickaxe felt like a testament to their unity, empowering her spirit. Days turned into weeks, and the once quiet mine transformed into a bustling hub. New tools were brought in. Wooden beams were erected to support the walls, and plans for deeper tunnels were devised. Eliza became the heart of the operation, coordinating efforts, ensuring that everyone felt valued and involved. She saw men who had once looked down on her now working alongside her, their respect evident in their eyes. "I never thought I'd see the day when a woman would lead us into a mine," one gruff miner admitted, wiping sweat from his brow. Eliza smiled, a warmth spreading in her chest. "And I never thought I could either, but we're stronger together." With each passing day, the excitement of discovery intoxicated the miners. They unearthed not only silver, but ancient artifacts buried in the thick dust of time, their origins lost in the annals of history. Old tools, broken pottery, and hints of the lives lived long before them began to emerge, whispering fragments of stories. One evening, as they gathered around a flickering lantern for a meal, Eliza shared her vision. "This mine is more than just a place for silver. It's a place for our community to thrive. We can create jobs, bring families back, and make Silver Creek more than just a dusty outpost on the trail." Her words ignited a fire in the hearts of her fellow miners. They leaned forward, captivated by the idea of a new future. "I can help with the marketing," said Martha, her eyes sparkling. "We can show everyone we're back and stronger than ever." The talk around the fire grew lively, plans and dreams woven into the very fabric of their discussions. Eliza listened intently, taking notes of ideas, scribbling down thoughts for future endeavors. It felt electric, this momentum building among them. However, amidst the burgeoning optimism, Eliza was haunted by the thought of the outlaw gang. Though they had driven them away, she knew they wouldn't stay gone for long. Each rustle in the mine's shadowy corners sent a shiver up her spine, reminders that danger still loomed outside the safety of their newfound community. One afternoon, she decided to address this concern. With a determined look, Eliza gathered everyone at the main entrance of the mine. The air was thick with anticipation. "We've started something incredible here," she began, "but we need to protect what we've built. We can't allow fear to dictate our future." The men exchanged glances, nodding in agreement. "You're right," one of them called out. "We need to set up watch. We need to be ready if they come back." Eliza felt a surge of relief. "Exactly. Let's establish a rotation. We'll always have someone keeping an eye on the entrance, someone ready for anything." The miners quickly sprang into action, forming teams who would keep watch, ensuring that their collective safety was prioritized. It felt good to know they weren't just building riches, but creating a shield against the threats of the outside world. As days turned into a rhythm of work, laughter, and vigilance, the mine began to flourish. Eliza felt a sense of peace wash over her. Every stroke of the pickaxe was met with cheers and encouragement. They were becoming a family, bonded through shared struggles and dreams. However, in the darkest depths of the mine, something stirred. Deeper tunnels began to fork and twist. Confusion marred the layouts, and they uncovered a chamber that felt different, air heavier, cooler, as if a veil of secrets surrounded it. The miners hesitated, sensing a shift. "Should we go in?" one of the miners asked, anxiety threading through his tone. "It feels strange." Eliza considered the space. "We've come this far. We can't let fear guide us, but we should proceed cautiously. Gather your tools and stay close." With a shared sense of trepidation, the miners entered the chamber. It was larger than any other space they'd uncovered, its walls glittering like the night sky, scattered with silver and strange markings that looked ancient. It was mesmerizing and eerie at the same time. As they explored, Eliza's heart raced. The markings seemed to depict miners similar to themselves, interspersed with symbols that were unfamiliar. "These are stories," she murmured, tracing them with her fingertips, feeling a connection to the past. "Stories of those who came before us." Suddenly, a low rumble echoed through the chamber. Panic surged among the miners as loose rocks began to tumble from the ceiling. "Get back!" Eliza shouted, heart pounding. They rushed toward the exit, the noise growing louder as the chamber began to collapse. Dust filled the air, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. Eliza felt a hand grip her arm tightly as they sprinted. "Martha," she shouted, already sensing the fear gripping her friend. "Stay close." With a final push, they stumbled into the narrow tunnel at the entrance just as another crash echoed behind them, sending shadows darting across the walls. They fell against the earth, catching their breath, the mine's mouth firmly behind them. In the aftermath, they lay panting in the sun-soaked daylight, shaken but unharmed. The rumble had subsided, yet an unshakable sense of dread hung over them. "We can't keep digging in there," Martha said breathlessly, brushing dirt from her clothes. "What if we cause a total collapse? That was too close." Eliza's mind raced. "You're right. We need to secure this section and focus on where we've already made progress." Frustration bubbled within her. This mine held the promise of everything they wanted, yet it was also fraught with danger. "Maybe we should consider reaching out for help," she suggested, planting the seed of an idea. "If we find other miners, if we collaborate—" Martha nodded, considering the prospect. "Maybe we could establish something more formal. A network that not only secures our work, but allows for shared knowledge and resources." Eliza felt a glimmer of hope. "Exactly. If we expand our community, we can strengthen our hold. We could even reach out to nearby towns for support, maybe inspire them the way we have inspired ourselves." As they began to formulate their next steps, Eliza realized this was the challenge she had sought, a chance to forge a future, not just for herself, but for everyone in Silver Creek. No one could face these trials alone. Together, they could build something remarkable. And with that determination blazing in her heart, Eliza felt the weight of responsibility shift from one of fear to empowerment. They may be carving out a future in silver, but more importantly, they were crafting a legacy of strength, resilience, and community. The mine was not only a source of treasure, it was the foundation for a new beginning, an opportunity to rewrite their destinies steeped in bravery and hope. And she was ready to lead them on that journey, ready to turn their dreams into a reality that transcended the dark shadows of the past. As days turned into weeks, the mine became a hub of activity, the once quiet tunnel now buzzing with energy and purpose. Eliza organized meetings to discuss plans for reaching out to neighboring towns, eager to share their discoveries and form alliances that would benefit everyone involved. One bright morning, as the sun rose over Silver Creek, Eliza gathered the miners together in the open space near the mine's entrance. The excitement was palpable. The air buzzed with anticipation as they discussed the future. "Today, we take our first step toward building a network," Eliza began, addressing the group. "I've spoken to several miners on the other side of the canyon, and they're eager to join forces with us." A murmur of excitement spread through the crowd. "This is just what we need," said Martha, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. "Imagine what we could achieve by collaborating with others who share our vision." Eliza nodded, her heart swelling with pride. "We can make our community stronger than ever. We're not just mining for silver. We're mining for hope, for prosperity, for our families. And with more hands, we'll be able to dig deeper and move faster." The miners cheered, their spirits ignited by the prospect of a new beginning. One of the younger miners, Jake, raised his hand. "How do we approach them? What if they don't want to work with us?" Eliza smiled at his question. "We'll be honest. We'll share our progress, our excitement, and our dreams. We show them the stability and community we're building. Trust comes from transparency." With a plan forming, they set to work. Eliza delegated tasks, ensuring that everyone had a role to play in their outreach efforts. Some would go out to neighboring towns to spread the word about their newfound mine, while others would refine operations to ensure that their current progress remained steady and secure. As they prepared for the journey, Eliza felt the weight of leadership on her shoulders. Yet instead of feeling burdened, she felt empowered. She found herself reflecting on how much her community had achieved together, forging bonds that surpassed mere business ventures. This was personal. Each miner was a friend, each success a shared victory. Days later, the delegation set off, including Eliza, Martha, and several of the most persuasive speakers among the miners. The sun hung high in the sky, illuminating the path before them as they rode towards the nearby settlement of Pine Hollow. Upon their arrival, the townsfolk greeted them with cautious curiosity. Few were aware of the enticing treasures lying just beyond the canyon, a mystery that, if revealed, could change the tides of fortune for all involved. Eliza stepped forward, heart pounding with a mix of nerves and excitement. "Good people of Pine Hollow," she addressed them, her voice steady and clear. "We come to share an opportunity. Together, we can revive our towns, our families, and our futures." Murmurs raced through the crowd. Some looked eager, while others appeared hesitant. A middle-aged man stepped to the forefront, the town's blacksmith known for his strength and wisdom. "What makes you think we should trust you?" he challenged, crossing his arms over his broad chest. Eliza took a deep breath, grounding herself in the moment. "I understand your hesitation, but we are not just here to ask for your labor. We have discovered a mine filled with silver, an untouched resource that could benefit both our communities. Together we can work this land and ensure its riches enrich us all." The townsfolk listened but remained skeptical. Another voice piped up from the back of the crowd. "You're saying we should risk our livelihoods on a gamble?" "No gamble," Martha interjected. "We've already begun mining and secured our claim. We have silver waiting to be unearthed. We have the skills, the tools, and the dreams. We just need partners willing to believe in opportunity." Eliza nodded in agreement, encouraged by Martha's passion. "You don't have to take our word for it. Join us at the mine. See the progress for yourselves. If you believe in what we've started, then together we can shape a future that benefits us all." The murmur spread again, tension rippling through the crowd. Eliza could sense the mixture of doubt and intrigue among them. The blacksmith looked thoughtful, his brow furrowing as he considered their proposition. After several moments of deliberation, he spoke again. "All right, we have much to discuss. If what you say is true, then we can consider your offer. But we will not just hand over our trust lightly." Eliza's heart soared. "That's all we ask. Come see for yourselves. We're ready to work alongside you to forge a partnership built on mutual respect and shared goals." The miners from Pine Hollow conferred among themselves, and before long they agreed to visit the mine the following day. The decision electrified Eliza. She could see the glimmer of hope in the eyes of everyone around her. Returning to Silver Creek felt different. Eliza could feel the change stirring in the very air they breathed. Their outreach to Pine Hollow had not only opened a door, it had cracked wide the possibilities that lay ahead. In the days that followed, the miners thrived in this spirit of cooperation. Eliza organized another gathering to solidify their plans and ensure everyone was ready to welcome their new neighbors. On the day of the visit, she stood at the entrance of the mine, anticipation humming in her veins. The horizon bloomed gold under the sun, illuminating the path for their guests as they arrived. The miners from Pine Hollow dismounted, excited chatter filling the air. Eliza greeted them warmly, eager to showcase the beauty and bounty of their discovery. "Welcome. I'm thrilled to show you what we've accomplished." As they descended into the mine, the light of hope flickered brighter. The Pine Hollow miners gasped as the glimmering walls embraced them. The reality of Eliza's words manifested all around them. This was no empty promise, it was a new dawn. Eliza watched as they inspected the silver veins, measuring the potential, their skepticism melting away like morning frost under the sun. The enthusiasm bubbled over into eager discussions of plans, ambitions, and usage of resources. With laughter and excitement filling the mine, Eliza knew they were building not just a workforce, but a community, a network that could weather any storm. Together they could move mountains and carve out futures filled with adventure and prosperity. But amid the revelry, Eliza kept a wary eye on the shadows lurking outside. The past weighed heavy, a reminder that even in the light of newfound opportunity, dangers remained, and she must always be vigilant to protect the dream they were all building together. Though uncertainty lingered, Eliza's resolve solidified. She would guard their future with everything she had, and together they would forge a legend that echoed through the canyons for generations to come. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over Silver Creek, the mine buzzed with new energy and excitement. Eliza felt a renewed sense of purpose, her heart swelling with hope as she watched the combined group of miners from both settlements work diligently. They shared laughter and ideas, thrilled to be a part of something bigger than themselves. Eliza and Martha took charge, organizing teams to dig deeper into the mine, while formulating plans for refining and selling the silver. They wanted to ensure that everyone benefited from this opportunity. "Look at this vein right here," Martha exclaimed one afternoon, pointing to a glimmering seam embedded in the rock. "If we follow this, we'll strike even more silver. We can set up a proper operation here." Eliza leaned closer, excitement buzzing through her. "We'll need to make sure we secure more tools, and maybe even construct a way to transport the silver once we've collected it. We can't just rely on our horses forever." As they plotted their next steps, a sense of unity enveloped the miners. Week by week they worked late into the evenings, their lanterns flickering like stars in the dark cavern. Spirits remained high, the promise of their collective future buoying them as the days turned into weeks. But beneath the camaraderie sat a quiet tension. Eliza couldn't shake the feeling of unease that crept in when night fell. The outlaw gang had been quiet since their last confrontation, but their threat remained. She often found herself straining to hear the slightest sound echoing through the canyon, a reminder that danger was just around the corner. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Eliza decided it was time to address the miners about security. They gathered at the entrance of the mine, the sky painted in deep oranges and purples. "We've accomplished so much together," Eliza began, her voice steady, "but we have to acknowledge that threats still exist. We need a solid plan to protect not only our work, but each other as well." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. A burly man stepped forward. "You're right, Eliza. We should set up watch not just in a rotation, but we should also train for defense. We can't be caught off guard again." "Exactly," Eliza replied, feeling a rush of gratitude for their support. "We can gather supplies for makeshift weapons. We should also think about how we can reinforce the entrance to the mine." Another voice broke through the chatter. "What if we set a lookout on the ridge? We can have someone on watch during the day and night. If the outlaws come, we'll see them approaching." Eliza nodded, impressed by the suggestions. "That's a brilliant idea. We'll establish a lookout system at the highest point on the trail, and I propose we all practice together, so we're prepared if they come back." A consensus quickly formed, and everyone rallied around the new plan. They organized training sessions at the entrance of the mine, practicing their stances and learning to work as a team. Eliza felt a swelling sense of pride as she watched her friends work hard. transforming their fear into strength. Days passed, and as the stars twinkled down upon them, the miners trained tirelessly, forging bonds that went beyond mere necessity. They created a community fortified in spirit, built on dreams of a prosperous future. One night, while gathering around a campfire, Eliza felt a surge of affection for her fellow miners. They shared stories of their pasts, tales of hardship and resilience, dreams, aspirations, and moments that defined who they were. Every laugh mingled with the crackle of the flames, reinforcing their unity. Amidst the laughter, a shadow fell over them. Hank, a seasoned miner from Pine Hollow, returned from a scouting expedition. "I saw something on my way back," he said, his voice stern. Eliza's heart dropped. "What did you see?" "Tracks. Horse tracks, and not just one or two. It looks like a small group is headed this way." Concern flitted through the group. The atmosphere went tense, laughter fading away as each miner registered the weight of Hank's words. "We need to prepare ourselves," Eliza declared, her voice cutting through the heaviness. "Let's move to our positions. We've trained for this. We know what to do." In the ensuing chaos, the miners sprang into action, quickly organizing themselves into positions near the entrance of the mine. Eliza could feel her heart pounding. This was the moment they had prepared for. Together, they would face whatever threat approached with composure and courage. As dusk settled, the shadows lengthened, and the sounds of hooves echoed across the canyon. Eliza, heart in throat, listened intently as the clop of horses drew nearer. The tension was palpable, wrapped in an anxious silence. With every heartbeat, she knew they could not let fear seize them. She positioned herself near the front, her gaze focused and resolute. "Stay strong, everyone. We've come too far to let them take this from us," she whispered, her tone low but firm. The sound of galloping horses grew louder until silhouettes broke the horizon, appearing stark against the fading light. Eliza's grip on her makeshift weapon tightened. She could see the familiar figures of the outlaws, their menacing presence igniting a fire of defiance in her heart. As they approached, the leader of the gang, her old adversary, emerged, a cruel smile spreading across his face. "Well, well, if it isn't the pretty little miners. I hope you've enjoyed your little party in this dusty hole." Eliza stepped forward, refusing to back down. "This is our land, and you're not welcome here. We won't let you take what we've worked for." His laughter echoed through the canyon, devoid of warmth. "Your little band of misfits? You think you can stand against us? There's no way you can defend what's mine." "Those days are over," Eliza retorted, her voice steady. "You've underestimated us, and we won't let you threaten our future any longer." With that declaration, a fierce silence fell over the gathering. The miners stood united, shoulders squared, defiance hanging in the air like a thick fog. "Looks like we'll have to show you who's really in charge," the outlaw sneered, raising his hand as if to signal an attack. But Eliza was ready. "Now!" she yelled, and the gathered miners sprang into action, moving as one unit driven by the spirit of solidarity that had held them together. The air crackled with tension as they engaged. Eliza thrust herself into the fray, each swing of her weapon fueled by the longing for a brighter future, defending her friends, her dreams, and everything they had built together. As chaos erupted around her, she fought with the strength of her community, a bond unbreakable in the face of adversity. This moment was theirs, not just a fight, but a testament to their unity, a declaration that in Silver Creek they would not back down. With every ounce of courage, of will, of determination, Eliza and the miners charged forward, ready to defend their future against those who sought to take it away. In that unyielding moment, they were resolute. They would forge their destiny together, come what may. The chaos erupted as Eliza and her fellow miners stood firm against the encroaching outlaws. Shouts filled the air and the clash of makeshift weapons rang out, echoing through the canyon like a battle cry against oppression. Fueled by a sense of community and purpose, they were ready to fight for their future. The leader of the outlaw gang charged toward Eliza, a malicious grin plastered on his face as he swung his weapon. But Eliza was quick, ducking to the side and pivoting on her heel. "You'll have to do better than that," she called out, a surge of adrenaline empowering her movements. The outlaw staggered, surprised by her agility, but quickly regained himself. "You think you can win this, little girl?" he taunted, advancing again. But Eliza felt the strength of her friends supporting her, their determination propelling her forward. She swung her pickaxe, a powerful arc that connected with the man's shoulder, sending him reeling back. "We're not backing down," she shouted, raising her voice over the din of the fray. Around her the miners fought valiantly, every swing and shove a statement of their unity. Martha was close by, tackling one of the outlaws with fierce determination. "Together!" she yelled, pushing him back as others pressed forward, rallying around the brave spirit that filled the mine. The dust swirled around them, and Eliza could barely see through the cloud. But she could hear the voices of her friends urging her on, each shout a reminder of what they were fighting for. They were no longer just miners. They were a family forged in struggle and hope. Yet, as the fight wore on, it became clear that the outlaws were determined. They fought like animals, wild and vicious, their eyes reflecting desperation. Eliza noted the grim determination in their leader's gaze, realizing that he wouldn't back down without a fight. "Well, if it's a fight you want," he shouted, "then I'll give you one." Turning, he swung wildly at one of the miners standing at the rear. Eliza's eyes widened as she saw the man stagger back, the swing catching him off guard. Instinctively, she dashed toward him, blocking the outlaw's next blow with her pickaxe. "Stay behind me," she barked, positioning herself as a shield. The miner nodded, gratitude shining in his eyes. Together they faced off against the gang, a defiant shield against their onslaught. "Who else wants some?" Eliza challenged, glancing around at her friends. Spirit surged through them, and they rallied around her, fighting back with renewed vigor. Their trust in one another forged an unbreakable barrier, and soon the tide of the battle began to shift. But just as they gained ground, Eliza heard a commotion behind her. "Watch out!" a voice cried. She turned in time to see another outlaw sneaking through the commotion, aiming for their rear flank. Without thinking, she sprinted forward. Drawing her arm back, she hurled her pickaxe with all her might. The weapon flew through the air, striking him squarely in the leg. He fell, howling in pain, and Eliza seized the moment to jump on top of him, immobilizing him with quick, precise movements. "Let's finish this," she shouted to her friends, urging them on as they continued to push against the remaining outlaws. But the leader was relentless. He charged at Eliza with renewed fury, his eyes alight with a dangerous glimmer. "You think you can take me down, little girl?" he spat, lunging dangerously close. Eliza sidestepped expertly, but this time he anticipated her moves. He swung his weapon in a wide arc, catching her off guard. The impact jolted her, and she tumbled to the ground, momentarily stunned. Dazed but not defeated, Eliza shook her head to clear the fog and spotted the outlaw looming over her, ready to unleash another blow. Just as she regained her bearings, a familiar figure dashed toward her. "Martha! Get away from her!" Martha cried, tackling the outlaw from behind. The two went down in a tangle of limbs, grappling fiercely. Eliza took the opportunity to regain her footing, quickly grabbing a nearby shovel. With newfound determination, she charged back into the fray, focusing on the chaos around her. Everywhere she looked, her friends were battling, fighting fiercely against the odds. They weren't just defending Silver, they were protecting their homes, their dreams, and the bonds that had formed between them. Suddenly, she spotted the blacksmith from Pine Hollow, engaging with another outlaw. His strength was evident as he wrestled the man to the ground, slamming him with the sheer force of his muscles. "Now this is how we do it," he bellowed, laughter breaking through the tension. Eliza felt a rush of pride. They had rallied together, determined to stand against their common enemy. She looked around at her friends, their faces smeared with dirt and determination, and felt her heart swell. "Keep pushing, we're almost there," she shouted, swinging the shovel in a wide arc that angled toward the leader of the outlaws. The outlaw turned just in time to catch a glimpse of her coming for him, but it was too late. The blow connected hard, and he staggered back, clutching his side. "This isn't over," he gasped, fury spilling from his eyes. But Eliza had had enough. "You picked the wrong fight," she fired back, stepping into her strength. The outlaw's fears were tangible now, sensing the shift in momentum. They began to retreat, recognizing the miners' ferocity, a united front that would not yield. As the gang turned and began to flee under the fading light, the miners erupted in a roar of triumph, their victory palpable, a sweet reward for their struggles. Eliza stood victorious, heart racing with adrenaline, surrounded by her friends who now felt like family. The battle may have ended in exhaustion, but what lay ahead was filled with promise, and the unexpected joy of a world seized by unity and courage. "We did it!" Martha exclaimed, beaming like the sun as she pulled Eliza into a fierce hug. "We really did it!" But beneath the cheers, Eliza felt a lingering caution whispering in her ear. They may have won this battle, but the war for their future had just begun. With the outlaws retreating, she knew they would regroup. Their fight was not over yet. "Let's be vigilant," she said, lifting her chin to address the miners as evening shadows stretched around them. "We've come too far to let our guard down." Each miner nodded in agreement, their unity reaffirmed by the fight they had just endured. Together, they had proved their strength and resilience, but they had also forged a bond that would carry them forward. The fight for Silver Creek had only just begun. As the last rays of sunlight dipped below the horizon, casting the mine in a warm glow, Eliza felt a fire ignite within her, an unwavering commitment to protect not just their newfound treasure, but the community they had built together. This was only the beginning of their journey, and she was ready to lead them to an even brighter future. The days that followed the battle were filled with a palpable energy in Silver Creek. The miners worked tirelessly to fortify their defenses, fortifying the entrance of the mine and gathering supplies for the inevitable return of the outlaw gang. Eliza felt a renewed sense of purpose wash over her as she stood among her friends, their laughter and determination brightening even the darkest corners of the canyon. Each morning was met with a sense of urgency. The miners established watch rotations, ensuring that someone was always looking out for danger. During the day, they continued working in the mine, unearthing more silver and artifacts from the depths. Eliza began to see a tangible future developing, not just for her, but for everyone in Silver Creek. One afternoon, as they busily sorted through their yield, a rider appeared on the horizon, kicking up dust as he approached. Eliza squinted, straining to see who it was. As the rider drew closer, she recognized him. Tommy, one of the younger miners who often helped her rally the group. "What news, Tommy?" she called out as he reached the entrance, the expression on his face a mix of excitement and concern. "Riders from Pine Hollow are here," he panted, wiping sweat from his brow. "They heard about the fight and came for a visit. They want to help." Eliza's heart leaped. This was exactly what they needed. The solidarity among neighboring towns could turn the tide in their favor. "Gather everyone, we need to meet them!" As the miners assembled at the entrance of the mine, a group of riders emerged, weary but spirited. They dismounted, extending hands and greetings, their faces reflecting mutual respect and determination. "We heard of your bravery," the leader of the Pine Hollow miners said, a broad smile breaking across his face. "We want to join forces. Together, we can secure our claim against any threat." Eliza stepped forward, feeling the weight of their hopeful eyes upon her. "Thank you for coming. We'll need all the strength we can muster. Together, we can build something unstoppable." They engaged in discussions about the future, pooling their resources and their collective skills. Ideas flowed like the silver they were mining, ambitious proposals that brought excitement crackling through the air. "Let's build a proper structure for processing the silver," one of the Pine Hollow miners suggested. "It'll give us a base of operations, a place to gather and strategize. We can even establish a trading post." "Great idea," Martha chimed in. "If we build a trading post, we can not only sell our silver, but also attract more settlers, helping to grow both our towns." Eliza felt a swell of pride as her friends engaged in constructive debate. For the first time, they were not just fighting to survive. They were planning a future where prosperity thrived. As night descended, the miners set up a communal campfire to celebrate their newly formed alliance, the air filled with laughter and the aroma of food simmering on the fire. A sense of belonging enveloped them, as stories and songs wove through the night. Around the fire, Eliza looked around at the faces illuminated by the flickering flames. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for each person, for the struggles they had endured together, and for the victories yet to come. But a shadow flickered at the edges of her memory, the threat of the outlaw gang. She could not shake the feeling that they would return to reclaim what was theirs, to seek revenge for their humiliation. As if reading her thoughts, Martha leaned closer, her voice low. "What if they come at us again? We need an escape plan, just in case." Eliza nodded, sensing the weight of responsibility settle upon her shoulders once more. "We'll work on that. Let's prepare secondary lookout points, ensure our camp is fortified, and discuss escape routes if we need them. The others surrounding her fell silent, recognizing the seriousness of her words. In that moment, Eliza realized it was not just about mining silver. It was about building lives intertwined with courage and resilience. She didn't want fear to dictate their choices. They needed to transform it into strength. Their camaraderie built a sturdy foundation, but Eliza knew real battles lay ahead. Every mention of the outlaws sparked an underlying tension, a reminder not to grow complacent. As the night wore on, she felt a sense of impending change lingering in the air. With every fire crackle and every shared laugh, she became convinced of their collective destiny. In the following days, the miners worked fervently on building the processing structure. They gathered timber and stone, crafting a robust space that echoed with their unity. Each swing of the hammer reinforced their bonds, and their collective laughter wove through the labor, illuminating even the heaviest tasks. But then, one crisp morning, fear manifested before them. From the ridge, they spotted silhouettes riding toward the mine. Eliza's heart raced. She recognized the figures, outlaws. "Back to your positions," she called out, her voice steady and resolute. Panic rippled through the camp, but she stood firm. "We've prepared for this. We are stronger together. Remember our training." The miners sprang into action, taking their places as Eliza positioned herself at the forefront. Her pulse quickened, but she drew strength from the memory of their triumphs, the sacrifices they had made. They would defend what they had built, no matter the cost. As the outlaws approached, the leader at their forefront seemed undeterred, his cruel grin plastered across his face like a mask. "Thought you got rid of us, didn't you?" he taunted. "But here we are, back for what's ours." Eliza stepped forward, her stance resolute. "This is our mine now, and we'll defend it with every ounce of strength we have." With a fierce look, she turned to her friends, rallying them with her gaze. "On my mark." Eliza felt the weight of every moment build up around her. This was the culmination of their struggles, their dreams, and their hard-fought unity. When she shouted her command, the miners surged forward, ready to face the outlaws once more. In that moment, they were not merely seeking silver. They were fighting for their home, their families, and a future that belonged to them alone. The battle ignited a fierce energy within her, and she instilled that determination into everyone around her. As the first clash rang out, Eliza fought with unyielding spirit, her friends beside her shoulder to shoulder. They were ready for this battle, and together they would reclaim their destiny, forging a legend in the heart of the American West that would echo far beyond the canyon walls.